All right, so before we can even start touching files, I need to show you and I need you to understand what happens with a single page application. All right, so let me just give you an example. Let's say, of course, that we are working on an application and we have our application right here. And of course, our application will have hundreds of files, like lots of JavaScript files. So when you're ready, what are you going to do? I'm going to send this hundreds of files to the server. No, that's not what happens with single page applications. Whenever we are ready to watch it on our development server or to upload everything to the cloud, what we do, we run a command. And this one, in the case of React, it will use something called Webpack and something called Babel. So Babel and Webpack, what they will do, they will go to our application, they will read all the JavaScript files, and it will convert and compile and minify all the information that it's inside our application. So at the very end, when Babel and Webpack are done, they will give us a couple files. They will give us at least an index.html and a bundle.js. And this bundle.js, it's very important. This bundle contains all the information that makes our application work, right? But everything, it's on a single JavaScript. So what's the main point of this? We don't send hundreds of files to the server. We just compile with Babel and Webpack, and then we bundle on a single file. Now, don't worry, we don't do this manually. Everything, it's taken care by Babel, React, and Webpack. So if we go back to our application, I can actually prove this. Now, if I go right here to the directories, to our application, we can see that we have a public and the index.html. And we can see the meta tags, some content, the title, and nothing else. Now, we don't have any kind of information besides this ID of root. This one is important. Now, all the code, the JavaScript code from React comes from the source directory. If I go to app.js, here we have the React code. Don't worry, we're going to learn all of this in a couple minutes. So all of this, and notice that we have the text right here, the same we have right here, and we even get the link. So all of this information gets compiled by Webpack and Babel, and at the very end, what we get is this index.html, but with all the files. Notice that we get at the end on the browser, we get the header, the meta tags, and everything else. And if we scroll down, it will inject three different JavaScripts, and we have the bundle.js. So remember, when we create applications, we write JavaScript and everything else, everything gets bundled, and it's going to pass it along to the final HTML that goes on the browser. Now, maybe you must be thinking, dude, these are not a lot of JavaScript files. Maybe the app.js or the test or the index, just 3. Well, in reality, what makes React work is pretty much all the files, not all, but most of the files we have right here. And notice how many directories with JavaScript we have inside, right? So, uploading the node modules with everything else to make the application work would be crazy. So in reality, when you upload your application to the cloud, you don't put the node modules. Don't worry, we're going to learn more about this later. So let's talk a little bit of what's happening in our project starter. So right here, we can see that we get the node modules. And remember, just like I told before, all the packages, all the JavaScript that rule our application will go right here. For example, React, of course, it comes from a developer, which is Facebook. So all the files that our application will need to make React work are going to go right here. Now, React uses, again, Babel and Webpack. And Babel and Webpack, they are not from Facebook. They are from different developers. And this is what happens with the single-page applications. The application gets developed by a developer, and it will use packages from different and other or third-party libraries. And they will all go right here. So later, if we install something in our project, everything will be stored inside the node modules. All right. So if you delete the node modules, nothing is going to work. Okay. So then at the bottom, we have something called the package.json. And this one, again, it's really, really important. So the package.json is like a manifest for our project, like an index. Everything that works in our environment, it gets noted right here. And if we install a dependency that we're going to use in our project, maybe a library, like, I don't know, just to give you an example, Axios or, I don't know, jQuery or something like that, it will go and write it right here. And it will even give us the version right here. We have the dependencies. So we can see that we are using React, React DOM, and React scripts. And these three packages make React work. And notice that we get the version. So this is important. This is really important. And we also get the scripts. Now remember when we installed React, we were getting all the commands we can run to make the application work on the server, on the development server. So all the scripts are right here. We get start and then build, test, and inject. So if we want to add our custom command, we can write it right here and we can run very specific commands. Much later on the course, we're going to do something like that. But remember that the package.json is like the index or manifest of what's happening or what's installed in our project. So then we have the public and the source directory. And this one is, again, are very important. So the public will contain images, or it can contain a CSS file, or maybe the robots.txt in this case, but the most important file is going to be the index.html. Now, when you write your application, this is going to be the template that React will use to show an index HTML on the screen. Now, of course, the browser understands HTML. So we need at least one HTML where we're going to put everything. And remember the keyword, this is a single page application. It only needs a single page, which is going to be the index.html. This is the single page. Now, all the other information, what means, our application, the JavaScripts and the sections and everything else will go in the React side of things. Whenever we create files to use React, we're going to put them inside the source directory. And we can see again, more CSS, an app.js, and a bunch of stuff. Now, the most important one of this ones is the index.js. So on the index, this is the one that starts everything. It will import the things we need to make our application work, and then it will render an application on the root. Don't worry, we're gonna start writing the application on the next section. We're gonna mess with the files, and we're gonna start everything from the scratch. We're gonna delete everything, and we're gonna write everything ourselves, so you can learn why we are importing this and why we are importing that. That's the main goal right here. So let's go to the next section and start building our application.